Good morning, everyone. Thanks to all of you who have tuned in so far. We're still waiting on a few more people to join us, so we're just going to give it another 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll get started. Thanks. Morning, everyone. Looks like we pretty much have everyone logged in, so I think we're going to get started now. My name's Ramni and I work on the communications team here at the ASA, so I look after all of our training and events, and I'm sure you've probably received lots of emails from me in the past. Today I'm joined by my colleague Dave, who works on our CAP copy advice team. Dave is going to be taking you through all of the rules surrounding deferred payment services and producing responsible advertising for financial products such as buy now, pay later schemes. The way the session is going to work is we're going to spend about 20 to 25 minutes going through all of the content and the guidance, and then we're going to have time for a short Q&A at the end as well. So if you have any questions throughout today's session, please pop them into the chat box, and then when we reach the end during the Q&A, we will then go through all of your questions. Alternatively, during the Q&A, you can pop up your little virtual hand. So you've got a little hands up symbol. So you can pop that up, and then we know that you've got a question to ask, and I can unmute your microphone for you. So that's it from me for now. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Dave, who is going to take you through today's session.
Thanks, Romney. Thanks for that. So yeah, hi. So my name's Dave. I work on the copy advice team, which gives advice to advertisers about their advertising before campaigns go live. It's good service to use if you do have any questions that aren't covered today and you want to cover those off. Feel free to contact the copy advice service afterwards if we don't have time today. So just let me get there. So apologies for this. There we go, a bit of a lag there. So just going to cover off a few things. As we say, we've only got half an hour to go through, so it will be a whistle-stop tour. May not cover everything in that time, but first we're going to look at what is a deferred payment option. Just rush through that. I'm sure everyone who's here today knows, but just to make sure what we feel this is. Some of the rules that apply to those from the advertising code. We'll then look at material information, what's classed as material information, vulnerable groups, things to be aware of when looking at your advertising, and then, as Ramneek said at the end, we'll have time for some questions, hopefully. So firstly, what is a deferred payment service? So as I say, I'm sure you're all aware, but they offer consumers different options to pay for products, a variety of different options. So customers can agree to pay in instalments, or they can pay in full 30 days later, or more, whatever suits them. So it basically is giving options to customers to pay rather than just checking out as and when they buy the item. So that's what we're looking at. So what rules may apply to these products? So there's a huge, the cap code is full of many sections. Some section will apply to all products, such as section 3, which is misleading advertising. That applies whatever you're advertising, and there's similar code rules there. But section 14 applies to financial products. So anything that's classed as a financial product but not FCA regulated will have section 14 apply. As I mentioned there about the FCA, because of the FCA regulations, and they're the experts in those types of products. If there are any products that are FCA regulated, the technical aspects of a complaint go to them. So if your product is an FCA regulated product and it's about interest rates, for example, then the ASA won't look at that, and also copy advice won't advise on that, because the FCA is better suited for that. But even if it is an FCA regulated product, then the non-technical aspects of an ad will stay at the ASA and be looked at by them. So as I said there, if it's an issue about an interest rate on an FCA regulated product, the ASA receive that complaint, they'll pass it straight over to the FCA. If it's about a serious or widespread offence issue or social responsibility, then that stays with the ASA and is looked under the cap code. If it's not an FCA regulated product, then the ASA will look at all aspects, and as I say, that's where section 14 may come in. So if you charge interest on a product, it's a buy now pay later with interest applicable, and it's FCA regulated, then some of these rules won't be applicable. So section 14 is a really short section of the cap code. There are only 5 rules in total, but some of those deal with unregulated investments and talk about interest rates on those kind of things. So the main rule that would be applicable for under section 14 is this rule here, 14.1. And it states that offers of financial products must be set out in a way that allows them to be understood easily by the audience being addressed. The marketers must ensure they do not take advantage of consumers' inexperience or credulity. Basically, what it's saying there is think about the audience that is being addressed, who's being targeted with these ads. If you've got an ad for a product that's aimed at students, for example, and those inexperienced, you might have to use different language than, say, a home improvement product that's being sold, where it's going to be targeted to older people, homeowners, and stuff like that, people who have got financial experience. So you do just need to think about the customer base that is being addressed, and think about the language that's used in those types of ads. So cap code rule 14.1 still. So ads must explain product features that the audience can understand. So we would say avoid using jargon that may cause confusion for consumers. And as I say, think about who's likely to view these ads and use the service for that type of product. And as I've already stated there, so think about the audience being addressed, and if promoting a service for fast fashion customers, there's a good chance that they may be seen by financially inexperienced consumers, such as students, youngsters, teenagers, etc. And just think about that. It might be the first type of credit they've ever applied for. They might not have access to credit cards and etc. So they may not have the full knowledge and understanding as other consumers more elderly or financially experienced would have. Material information. So what would be considered as material information? Well, material information is information that is not included will change a consumer's understanding of the ad. Anything that's important and people need to know about would be classed as material information. And Section 3 of the CAP code, as I stated before, deals with misleading advertising, and while code rule 3.1 states that ads mustn't mislead with what they contain, code rule 3.3 states that ads must not mislead the consumer by omitting material information. So it's not just about what's said, it's about what's not said that makes an ad misleading. So material information, wherever possible, should be included at the outset so that it doesn't mislead by its omission. So material information could include if customers' credit rating will ever be affected. If someone, whilst it may not have a credit check at the outset when they're applying for the products, it might just be a soft credit check. If they miss payments and it gets sent to a credit reference agency and their credit rating gets affected at a later date, then that might be seen as material information, and that will be, as I say, that may alter someone's understanding of the product. If they're told your credit rating is not going to be affected, do this without any risk, apply for this, and there'll never be any risk in you applying for this, but it actually, their credit rating will be affected if they're unable to make payments, that would change their understanding of the products and so would be seen as material information. What charges will apply for payments if payments have been missed? So whilst there may not be no interest charged to these products, if it's not paid in time and gets sent to a debt collector, will further charges be added at that point? So again, that will change someone's understanding of the product, and if there are any other charges at all, then they should be included. There should never be any hidden charges in advertising. So if there's an admin charge, for example, to set up something or at the outset, then this will need to be made clear in the initial ad. These sorts of things will be classed as material information. As I say, if it's not included, it changes the consumer's understanding of the ad totally. So material information must always be included. Vulnerable groups. So all ads must be socially responsible, not just ads for financial products. All ads need to be socially responsible is one of the key rules of the CAP code. So what we say, if targeting, or even if not targeting, but if there's a good chance that vulnerable groups may see ads, then care should be taken around that. It's not that advertisers can't advertise to these groups, but it's just something that needs to be kept in mind and thought about, that there might need to be just extra care taken. So when we're talking about vulnerable groups, what we're meaning is, another lag here, bear with me. Apologies, there just seems to be a bit of a technical lag with the slides here. There we go. So the groups we might spring to mind, again, this is not an exhaustive list, there might be others, but just to be aware that young and inexperienced, if you're aiming at students or youngsters, just be careful that they will be might be seen as a vulnerable group. People with poor or no credit history, again, it's fine to advertise to people that you can apply for this even if you have poor credit, but it might be that they've got poor credit because they take out things that they can't afford and can't pay back, which has caused their poor credit history. So just need to bear in mind, it's fine to sell the benefits of products, but just be aware that you don't oversell those benefits to people that might not have an understanding or might have issues with that. People on low income or unemployed or reduced income, thinking of an unstable employment, thinking about at the current time A lot of people might be jobs might be unsafe, and they might feel that if they put off the payment, they might be able to pay it when things pick up and are looking up, but it may not be that their job will be safe. So whilst they might be employed at the moment, in 6 months' time, in the current climate, there's a good chance that they might not be. So just caution around advertising to these groups, and just think about who may see it and who might get in financial difficulties if they were to go down this route. So it's just something to be aware of. As I say, there's nothing that says you can't advertise to these people, but I think extra care needs to be taken when dealing with these types of groups. As I say, that's not an exhaustive list, but there's just the prime examples that we would think would come under vulnerable groups. Okay, so just going to look at some potential issues to be aware of when advertising. Ads should avoid downplaying less positive aspects while promoting the positive aspects. So of course, any advertiser, whatever the product, is going to want to sell the positives of its product and make clear what those positives are, but it shouldn't be done in a way where it downplays the less positive aspects. Looking back at the vulnerable groups and what I mentioned there, so it's fine to make clear that you can qualify for these products and for this buy now pay later if you've got a poor credit history, but it's not, you shouldn't downplay the fact that if their payments aren't met, that there will be this credit check at the end. So it's just about thinking about how you're promoting the positive aspects, avoiding downplaying the less positive aspects. It's can't be all singing, all dancing, this is the best product ever, without mentioning that there might be some pitfalls for some people. So don't downplay those less positive aspects. Again, speed and ease of access can be referred to, but should be done in a responsible and proportional way. Whilst these products are don't have the credit checks and can be easily applied for and received, it needs to be made clear that people then don't go and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds in one go when they might not be able to repay that in 30 days time or in the installment. So it's fine to play up again the positive aspect of the speed and ease that this credit line can get to people, but it should be done in a responsible and proportional way so that people are made clear of the less positive aspects. Just should minor point here, hopefully. So ads should encourage consumers, should not encourage consumers to make a rush decision and to make when making purchases. But it goes with anything. But if it goes in hand with the above point about the speed and access, it shouldn't put a sense of urgency on people to rush these decisions. So it shouldn't overplay or make it seem that these offer is just available for a short period of time and people need to rush into making a decision. They should be able to take their time, fully understand what they're getting into, and make an informed decision rather than just being encouraged to race into that decision. Harm and offence. So this is something to be aware of away from the technical aspects of the product. Ads can sometimes like to be controversial and feature issues that might cause harm and offence, but the code states that there's nothing can be featured in advertising which is likely to cause serious or widespread offence, and obvious areas to take particular care over around race, religion, sexual orientation and disability. So ads just need to be aware of that. So ads can be distasteful, and as I say, it might be offensive to one person, but if it needs to cause widespread or serious offence before it becomes an issue. Just upsetting one person is not going to be enough for it to be an issue. But in saying that, that doesn't mean that the ASA will only act if it has hundreds of complaints. It may just take one complaint for them to look into it and feel that it would cause widespread offence. It's just that if they decide that actually we can understand this one complainant's point of view, but it's not going to offend lots of people, that won't be an issue. But they could look at it, the complaint from one person, and think actually they've got a point. If more people were to see this, or if more people from a particular group were to see this ad, then it would cause widespread offence. So can be distasteful but not cause widespread offence. And there, further on to that point, it can be offensive to some, but to have sufficient grounds to uphold, it's got to be seen as likely to cause serious or widespread offence. Would say don't cause unjustified fear or distress. It's no point using shock tactics just to get publicity, because then obviously if you get going down that route, then it's more likely to be seen to cause serious or widespread offence. If there's a product or particular issue that is unavoidable, then it's less likely to be seen as causing serious or widespread offence if it can be justified. But if it's not justified and it's just in there for the sake of it for shock value, then that might be a problem. And don't encourage unsafe, antisocial, violent, etc. behaviour. So there's a tough line on that. So it's just got to be seen not to, speaks for itself there. Don't encourage those sorts of behaviours. That's harm and offence. If there is a complaint made to the ASA, I thought I'd just include, it might be new to the ASA, if this new product. So if you haven't had any complaints, then great, but thought I'd make you aware of what happens if it does. So if a complaint's made, first thing that happens, it goes to a complaints team who will look to see that it qualifies and that it is within the remit of the ASA. So when we're talking about remit, we're meaning that if the ad is targeted at a UK audience, so it may be that you're a global brand and you have adverts on social media that are produced from other parts of the world, but it needs to be an ad for the UK audience to make sure that it qualifies. Complaints team will then look at it. If it's a minor issue or something that they just feel that just need to be brought to your attention, it will they can do what's called an advice notice and just say, look, if you're willing to change this, we'll take it no further and just make this amendment to advertising. If it's a fairly minor issue, if they feel that it's a bit more of a serious issue or requires more investigation to go into the issue, then it will be passed to the investigations team. Once it goes to the investigations team, they'll make you aware and get a response from the advertiser, and then they'll take on board what the complainant said, what the advertiser said, any evidence they need to receive, and then they'll make a decision, the investigation team, which goes in front of the ASA Council. The ASA Council is made up of 13 members. The chairman is the 13th member who has the deciding vote if it's a 6-6 split, and what they do is they make the decision as to whether something is upheld or not upheld. If it goes as far as an investigation and a decision by council, then that decision does get put onto the ASA website and can feature in various news articles, etc. You may have seen this week that Gemma Collins has had a ruling against her and Skinny Jabs for something, and that's received quite a lot of publicity because of who it was and what the issue was. So if a decision is made, a ruling, then that does get it passed, that does get some media attention, and then it goes to enforcement if need be. So if it does go to enforcement or a ruling, the general sanctions are that adverse publicity is the most common one, as in that example I've just mentioned of this week. There can be media refusals, so media owners are members of the CAP board, and so they would, if there's seen as ads that are problematic, they can refuse to put those on. Have a relationship with Google, so pay-per-click ads can be removed. And there's the one just below that, ASA's own pay-per-click ads. So Google do give a budget to the ASA that if there are serious breaches and the advertiser doesn't play ball with the ASA, then they can put pay-per-click ads up on there. So when someone searches, it becomes aware. Disqualification from industry awards for ads. ASA doesn't have the ability to issue fines or take further action, but if in the most serious of cases, and this is very rare, but in the most serious of cases, it can be referred to trading standards, or if it's a TV ad, Ofcom. We haven't actually got any case studies for this type of product, so I've just got a couple of case studies just to quickly go through. This one was from last year and used the 14.1 ruling in the one I covered earlier. It was for a financial product, and the consumers complained that this was likely to confuse people and that people wouldn't understand this, whilst the graph shows an upward, that it's clearly gone up, the Bitcoin value. Over the last year, it had actually gone down. So it was felt that it was overplaying the benefits of the Bitcoin and the value of Bitcoin. As they had a look at this one and was found that it breached code 14.1 amongst other rules, and they felt that because the graph along with the info down the side required specialist knowledge to be able to interpret it, and that it used language such as price volatility that consumers wouldn't understand. So whilst that might have been okay to talk about price volatility in an investment paper, this was in the Times, I believe, and so it would be seen by people that didn't have the financial knowledge. So the language should have been clear for a general audience rather than a specialist audience, and so this was found to be a breach of 14.1. and hopefully that just shows you that the choice of language and the choice of tools used need to be relevant for the audience concerned. This one didn't breach the rules under the section 14, but I've selected this one just to highlight the material information and the importance of the material information. So consumers complained that when they looked at this on a mobile phone, they didn't see that final line that please note there will be a final payment of around £60 upon completion of the unlock. If that was seen on the mobile phone, it just showed the top bit, and because the call to action button of pre-order was there, they didn't know to scroll down on their mobile device to view that. Another complainant said it wasn't happy with the around £60 because they'd actually been charged over £100, which they felt wasn't around £100. The ASA had a look at this one and they found it was an issue because it said around £60. It should have been final payment of between £60 to £100 or something like that. It wasn't clear enough. The material information wasn't clear enough, and also it should have been indicated that it was below all this information. So maybe have this ahead of the pre-order button so that consumers will definitely see the material information before they have to make that transactional decision by clicking on the pre-order button. So if you have got material information, it's not just okay to be at the bottom and hidden. And also in this day and age, if people are doing a lot of shopping on mobile phones, etc., it's important to remember how it might appear to people using those kinds of devices as well. So just a quick couple of case studies there. So in summary, as I say, it's just been a whistle-stop tour, so hopefully you've gained something from that. But key things include all material information within the ads. Make sure ads are socially responsible, and consider section 14, the financial section, and also the rest of the cap code. As I say, the other important section is the misleading section of section 3, but there are other sections that will apply, such as section 4, which deals with harm and offence. But yeah, making sure ads socially responsible by not overplaying the benefits and targeting vulnerable groups, making sure people are clear about what they're getting into. So that's the summary, and that concludes that section of that. And I'll just hand back to Ramneet now.
Thank you, Dave. So before we quickly answer some of your questions, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more information about some of the other training and advice and guidance that we have to offer. So we have a really extensive e-learning platform. So if you're looking to brush up on your skills, looking to brush up on your knowledge of the CAP code, or perhaps you have new colleagues, new members in your teams who you think could benefit from some training, have a look at our e-learning website. We've got modules on there that range from everything to misleading advertising to social media, food products, promotional marketing. So there's lots and lots of relevant topics on there. We also have a tiered pricing system as well. So if you're looking to kind of bulk purchase for your teams, then get in touch with us and I can give you some more information about that. We also have other resources as well. So we're on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, give us a follow. We've got 2 accounts. We've got our ASA account and CAP account. It's a really good place to kind of keep up to date with our recent rulings and any new guidance that the CAP copy advice team come out with as well. We've got our newsletters too. So we've got our Insight newsletter, which is full of really great, useful guidance from the copy advice team. So each few weeks, I think it comes out every 2 weeks, they'll send an update on any new guidance and advice. We also run regular training seminars as well. So you might have attended one of our previous advice AM sessions. We're now running those all online in this new virtual training world that we're in now. So have a look on our website because we've got 2 sessions coming up. We've got one in November, which is going to be on misleading advertising, and we've got one in December as well, which is going to be on digital advertising. So have a look on our website and see if any of that would be of interest to you. We also run bespoke presentations as well. So if you have, heard anything today and you think actually that would be really beneficial for my team or my colleagues to hear a little bit more about this, or you'd like us to expand on a certain topic or, really give you a very bespoke session based on the work that you do within your organization, we can also look into that for you too. And then also, obviously, on our website, we've got loads on there in terms of advice, articles that you can have a look through. And there's our copy advice team as well, where Dave works, and you can send them any questions that you have about any of your sort of upcoming advertising campaigns. If you want anything checked over, you want to make sure that you're remaining compliant, then you can get in touch with them. So I think we have had a couple of questions. So the first question comes from Hardeep, and he has asked, regarding ad content, we obviously touched on harm and offence, but would the ASA consider it acceptable or unacceptable content when promoting buy now, pay later services, particularly given the services are considered to target financially vulnerable people and have a strong appeal to under 18s?
Right, thanks for the question, Hardeep. So the harm and offence, obviously, as I mentioned, it can any ad may cause harm and offence to a certain degree. What it's not able to do is cause serious or widespread offence. But obviously, if it's targeting youngsters or vulnerable groups, probably the bar of causing widespread offence is probably lower. So it would have to be something. It's definitely something to be aware of and be careful of, and probably to steer clear of causing any harm or offence, because as you say, some might feel that the product is may cause harm and offence in itself. So but the harm and offence we're talking about is just controversial ads that that feature, so what we tend to look at, just these fast fashion brands that use young models in scantily clad clothes. They get close to the border of causing widespread offence. But again, it's probably worth being cautious because of the vulnerable groups, so steering clear of anything that may be seen as controversial, because some might see the product as controversial in itself when aimed at those sorts of groups of youngsters, etc.
Perfect, great. And another question we've had, I think this is probably going to be the last one. Elliot has asked, could we please expand a bit more on the reference to Google's involvement? There was a reference to Google giving budget to the ASA.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for the question, Elliot. So again, this is for the more extreme examples when advertisers don't comply with ASA rulings. So normally in 99% of cases, especially with bigger brands, they'll just comply with what the ASA's ruling is. Generally, it's just if it's an ad, then that ad shouldn't be shown again in the current format, and it needs to have the changes made that the ASA makes. Or if it's a changes to a website, then advertisers will generally do that. Sometimes, normally smaller advertisers or borderline fraudulent advertisers with those types of products might just ignore what the ASA has said, and much further down the line we try and work with advertisers and get them to comply. It's really one of the final tools in the armory of the ASA, the Google issues. So it's just when advertisers don't comply with the ASA, then they can use that budget to so that if people search for this particular advertiser, then it will bring up the ASA's ruling, and it just boosts it up the list to make people aware. So it's really something that doesn't come into play very often, but it just sometimes does. One example that springs to mind is there was a guy a couple of years ago who had a Harley Street address and claimed to be able to cure cancer. Now, obviously, that was doing harm to people maybe not seeking proper treatment for their condition, and he didn't comply, and we ended up having to use Google and then trading standards on that. But that's the type of extreme examples where that comes into play. So it's something to be aware of, but 99% of the time, it's not really something that comes into play with proper legitimate advertisers.
Perfect, brilliant. Thank you, Dave. I think that's it for all of our questions. A few of you asked whether the slides will be sent out afterwards, and I will be popping everyone an email with the slides attached, so you have them as well. So long as no one's got any other questions, I think we're going to finish off here. Thank you so much, Dave, for today's session, and thank you to everyone who has tuned in, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.